The Colts dropped Anthony Richardson's debut on Sunday, but what were our first impressions of the rookie's performance overall? Let's get to it.
You are Locked On Colts, your daily Indianapolis Colts podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What up, what up? Thanks for tuning in and making us your first listen post-game for Colts Jaguars. This is your daily podcast covering your Indianapolis Colts, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's show is sponsored by LinkedIn Jobs, which helps you find the qualified candidates that you want to actually talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Jake Arthur. He is Zach Hicks. As you'll see, he's got a little different view, a little different vibe today. Some technical difficulties has got him using his phone, so I'm going to be carrying some weight today. Apologies in advance for the production value.
You always carry the weight anyway, Jake. So I mean, it is what it is, you know.
All I need is your analysis, anyways. That's what you're really here for.
Right.
But anyways, you know the two of us from horseshoehuddle.com, the most lovable analysts in the game. And honestly, who's not so excited for Zach right now? Anthony Richardson and Shane Steichen made their debut today. A little clunky, but I mean, we got stuff to work off of now. So again, 31-21 loss to the Jaguars. The Colts were not expected to win this one. Kind of a bummer because they did have a lead later in the game. Too much time left on the clock for just a better team and a better offense. Ultimately, the Colts kind of fell apart there at the end, which, again, kind of to be expected. It doesn't feel icky after it did after most of the Colts losses last year, though. So what we're going to do with these post-game pieces, you know, until we find some sort of routine or something that is ironclad with Anthony Richardson, we're going to start following up with his performance first, each of these post-game. And then we'll move on to the offense and defense, those as a whole. So, Zach, what did you think of Richardson? I thought passed a lot more. I didn't expect 37 passes in his first game. 24-37 for 223, touchdown and an interception. Literally just like I called it a mixed bag. I really don't know what else to say. Like pretty not bad, but like overall some good and bad.
Yeah, you know, I would say that mixed bag is a proper way to evaluate this game from Anthony Richardson, but I will say that the mixed bag is more on the positive side than the negative side for him after this game. You know, there's legit concern going into this game that Richardson could have had a game where he completed 40% of his passes and threw like 2 or 3 picks. And we're talking about how like, okay, guys, wait, just be patient. This is going to take a lot of time. Whereas the conversation after this game is really, Richardson looked pretty good. Like, it's just the offense was ugly and didn't flow, and he didn't look super comfortable in the pocket, and the offense itself just didn't look super comfortable, and a lot of play designs, him and Steichen both didn't look that comfortable, but for the most part, you could see the upside there. You could see the potential, and you could see the really good moments. I really don't come away from this game thinking lesser of Anthony Richardson. I'm actually thinking, hey, if this is, like, again, there will be worse moments in this, but if this is as low as it gets, like this is the most uncomfortable he looks, the most unsteady he looks this whole year, I will take 260 total yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. Like that's perfectly fine if this is like one of the lower moments of the season for him. So obviously there's going to be some bad moments. There's going to be a lot of up and down play from him, but for the most part, we saw the rushing ability. We saw his quick arm and his strong arm and the ability to get the ball out there on those RPOs and quick hitters. And we saw the playmakers at times, you know, when they got the ball in their hands, when the offense wasn't super clunky, they were able to make some plays happen. Kylan Granson had a good game. Michael Pittman Jr. had that long touchdown, a couple other really nice plays. So I'm not really coming away from this game thinking anything negative about Richardson. I'm actually thinking like, okay, once there's a comfort level from him and Steichen and some of the other players in this offense, I think this offense can be workable. Like, I think there is some potential with this offense. So, yeah, I mean, rookie quarterback debuts are tough. Rookie QB debuts are typically terrible. I mean, Anthony Richardson broke the Colts completion percentage record for rookie quarterback debut. in this game with like 64%. Like that's not even that high of a completion percentage. So it's just how it is with rookie quarterbacks. But I thought he looked fine out there, and I liked a lot of what I saw.
Yeah, talking about completion percentage, I feel like Andrew Luck had hella games where he was under 60%, like under 55. Like Andrew Luck had some of those spotty games too. But no, I thought it was a pretty good performance. Again, I'm not really measuring wins and losses this year because that's just not what it's about. You want to just look at how these young guys are doing. And it may lead to more boring, frustrating football at times, but the fact that kind of the game plan, or at least the flow, dictated Richardson take a lot of shorter passes today and, keeping his eye off downfield, like just focus on what's in front of you and what the defense is giving you. I kind of like that because that's a big part of his game that needed ironed out. So It's week one. Like get that kind of stuff in there right away. That's fine with me.
Yeah, the one thing I really want to go back on, though, is that comfort level. And I think a lot of the Colts' inconsistencies in this game came from him and Steichen's just uncomfortable level of being in the positions they're at. They're rookies in their first overall game in their respective roles. Mm-hmm. And you could see from Shane Steichen, there was some timid play calling. There were some moments where he overthought some things. But again, this is day one. This is game one for him. There's 17 games to get this ironed out, and then you have, the next couple years as well. And the same with Richardson. There were a couple read option plays or RPO plays where he just made the wrong decision. There were a couple pockets that he bailed from too early. There were a couple times where it's like, oh, you could have run it here, but you threw it, or you threw it here when you could have run it. So there's just things that he needs to get more comfortable with under center and just in the overall feel of a football game. But I didn't think I saw 3 to 4 passes where the accuracy was a big issue. He sailed like 2 passes. I mean, the interception wasn't really an accuracy issue. It was more of a spacing issue from the wideouts and also him just trying to force some things late in the game. It happens. I don't think that was an overly bad moment there from him. So I didn't really see too many big accuracy issues from him. And it just really came down to the flow of the game for this offense and not having a cohesive running game, which we're going to talk about in our next segment when we talk about offense and why that running game did struggle. But yeah, I mean, if I'm just grading Anthony Richardson in this game, I mean, I give a B in this one. Like, I really do think he did some good things. I know the offense was only scored 14 points in this one, but I really can't complain from anything I saw in this game from him.
Yeah, it wasn't any big deal. Honestly, I expected his ball security to be a little worse. There were times this summer, where he had fumbles that weren't very challenging to be, he just was careless with the ball, I guess you could say. And he got hit a lot today. And, his ball security I thought was fine. Again, the interception, he described it later as he just threw it too flat, which makes sense. Like
he did. Yeah, it was a good read. It was a good read. Yeah. It was the corner route next to the vertical route. And it was a zone coverage play. So as long as that vertical route ran off that deep corner, it was going to be a completion. He just underthrew it. Like he threw it too low. And Tyson Campbell, I mean, we're talking about a vertical jump of near 40 inches, a guy who runs a 4.3, phenomenal athlete, was able to go up and get it. But yeah, no, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you there, but it was exactly what that was. He just threw it too flat. Right read, not even that terrible of a throw, just a good play by the corner. And it's a 3rd and long, so the corner's going to be sitting on that. Yeah,
and so other than his performance, one of the most notable things about Richardson, if you just saw the game and haven't, seen any reporting since, he did exit the final drive of the game. He got landed on by a couple guys. He also the injury really came up earlier in the game, but he had to leave the final drive, did not come back. He said, his left knee just got a little banged up. He'll put some ice on it. He'll be fine. We'll see what his practice load is next week, but both him and Shane Steichen both made it sound pretty chill. Like it's nothing to really worry about. Evan Hull did leave. They're getting a scan on his knee. Hopefully he's all right there. That one, did it look like he was trying to put his knee back in place or like that? That looked ugly. Like he kept pushing down on his knee. I was like, oh, that seems
yeah.
Tricky. And then
I didn't really see it. I didn't really see it, but every time I see knee injury with a running back, it hurts me a little bit. So hopefully it's not too serious there.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to make assumptions, but it looked like he was trying to shove his knee back together. But no, so they'll let us know more about that in the next 24 hours, I'm sure. Drew Ogletree left with a concussion. That's unfortunate because it came on a big, tough 20-yard catch. Hung onto the ball, just got popped pretty hard. Honestly, he seemed in really good spirits when he was going into the medical tent, but must have just not met enough of the criteria and failed the concussion protocol. So that's something he's going to now have to work through in order to come back whenever he is ready. So, I think that's about it as far as injuries and Anthony Richardson stuff goes. So here in a moment, we'll talk more in detail about the offense. There were guys out there barely. They're so razor thin at certain positions that aren't named Anthony Richardson. But first, we're going to tell you guys about LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available, and that's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. Just add your job and the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so that you can quickly prioritize who you would like to interview and ultimately hire. That's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus the leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates that you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. And everydayers, of course, stick with us throughout the week. We're getting into the groove. It's a normal game week now. Just like the Colts, there's going to be some repetition of their schedule. We will be the same way. We're going to have certain themes. I'm sure we're going to break out each day, of each week. So keep an eye on that. We're, of course, going to digest more of this film. Just like the coaches and players always say, I got to go check the film. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to kind of bring you some updates, plus updates about those injured guys, more news and notes that are coming out all the time. So, Zach, looking specifically at the offense, non-Anthony Richardson related, there's a couple guys here, pass catchers in particular, that had decent games. Michael Pittman Jr. went for 97 yards on 8 catches and a touchdown. Probably the most impressive touchdown of his career. Took kind of an intermediate throw and then, took it 39 yards for a catch and run touchdown, actually outran guys. Not that he's not a fast guy, but he's like a 4.5 guy, and you just don't see him in the open field with room to run very often. But credit to him, that touchdown was mostly him, so I was pretty impressed by him.
Yeah, I mean, his calling card his rookie season was his run after catch ability. Now, when you have a quarterback like Anthony Richardson, where, again, not every pass is going to be perfect, not every pass is going to be on the money, it's great to have a receiver who is 6'4" and really good after the catch. Like Pittman, again, he's not someone who's going to pull past everybody. I mean, he did on this screenplay that he turned into a touchdown, but he is the type of player where he's going to run through contact and he's going to turn 5-yard gains into 10, 15, 20-yard gains at times. So to get him the ball in space like that, especially on that screenplay, I think it was on a 2nd and 22 after Will Fries' weird blindside block call. Yeah. Whatever the heck that call was. I believe it came right after that, so it was a really good play mixing there to get that quick screen, get those positive yards, and Pittman took a play that should have been a 10 to 15-yard gain, and he turned it into a long touchdown. That's what you need for a young quarterback. You need someone who can turn those big plays out there for your young quarterback and make life easy for him. So, yeah, Michael Pittman Jr., slow first half, kind of expected because Tyson Campbell is one of the best corners in football, and he was kind of all over him there in the first half. But you got him the ball in the second half, and he kind of replaced all that receiving production that they lost in that first half there. So a good game for Michael Pittman Jr., and for everyone who was scared of his impact with Anthony Richardson, it appeared like it was still there today. Yeah,
and a couple guys with, they've also got growing chemistry with him. Kylan Granson, 4 catches for 39 yards. Josh Downs, 3 for 30. Those guys look like they're really clicking. Like, Richardson's not necessarily clicking with everyone in the passing game yet, but those 3 in general, especially Granson has been going for a while. Downs has been going for a while. I like what I see there, especially that play to Downs where there was that little delay, and then Richardson just kind of sidearmed it right up the middle of the field to Downs for about a 20-yard gain. Those two got something going on.
Yeah, that was an empty personnel set, and you had Downs as the weak side number 2. He was matched up with, I think, Andre Sisco, the safety, in the slot there, and that's what you're trying to get in that matchup. You're trying to get your quick win wide receiver either on the weak side 2 or strong side 3, so he can beat that easy coverage matchup. So what Downs did there is he had a little bit of an option choice route. He could have gone in, he could have gone out, he could have come back for the little hitch route. He gives a little shimmy to Sisco. Sisco bites outside, Downs goes inside, and Richardson's on the same page with him, and you get a really big gain there. That was the Eagles' bread and butter last year with Devonta Smith. That's exactly what they used with him on a lot of plays. So having Downs in that role early on and having those two on the same page too, because again, with a choice route, you never know. Like as a quarterback, you're kind of waiting for your receiver to make their move, and you have to anticipate which way they're going to go. So if you want to lead your player and get him into that tight window, you have to say, oh, Downs is probably going inside here. So you're throwing it inside, but you can't guess wrong or it's going to be a pick six. So the fact that they had that chemistry and they were able to connect on that inside shimmy move on that option route just speaks volumes to their chemistry. I really wish they were more involved in the second half, getting more empty personnel, getting more of Downs out in space against easier matchups. But again, it's such a feeling out process for this offense right now. It's a completely new coaching staff, completely new quarterback, new weapons in Josh Downs and a couple linemen in there too. Like it's a very, very new offense. They're going to figure it out. They're going to find what works for them, and they're going to flow with that rhythm. A lot of this was feeling it out, and seeing Josh Downs in that kind of play, I think is something you want to keep going forward.
Yeah, I mean, credit to you for correctly picking out that those guys would have, had the recipe there to have a pretty good game. One guy who did not give very many looks, Alec Pierce, 1 catch for 5 yards. Against this defense, this just probably wasn't his matchup. His time will come, but he's a downfield specialist, and the Colts just did not push the ball downfield.
Yeah, and again, Richardson is not comfortable yet in the pocket. Right. You could see it in this game. Like there were moments where he slid up in the pocket, and you're like, oh, okay, there's that poise we're looking for. And I'm not saying that Richardson wasn't poised in this game, but I don't know if a long developing play would have worked for him in this one because he was still getting his sea legs under him. Like he was still really trying to get into the groove of the game, and especially against this Jaguars defense where they have 2 really good corners, Darius Williams and Tyson Campbell. If you're going to have this really long developing play with your quarterback who's not ready, and you're going to throw it into coverage with those guys and Andre Sisco rolling deep too, it's just not a recipe for success, especially when you're able to hit Downs underneath or Pittman Jr. on screens and have those go. Like, sure, retrospect, we could have said, hey, you only scored 14 points, so why not take a couple shots and longer developing plays? But you have to I kind of put this in one of my articles. You have to manage, you have to kind of find that perfect medium between letting Richardson play, but also protecting him from being overwhelmed in day one. So I think Steichen erred a little bit too cautiously at times in this game, and I think he's going to learn from that going forward. But that's kind of where we saw the lack of long developing plays because you just don't want to put too much on his plate in week 1 and have him struggle because of that. So it kind of goes both ways. Alec Pierce was unfortunately one of the major downsides to that. He had 2 targets in this one catch for 5 yards. I think we'll see more involvement as the year goes along and they get more of those longer developing plays in. It's just this game plan was a lot of the short passing game and the quick runs, and it didn't really work, but that was what the game plan was.
Something else that didn't work was the run game. I can't help but think that this offense could really use a Jonathan Taylor type to help out.
To a degree. I think
to a degree.
I think where this run game really struggled in this one, though, was just it's such a different run scheme than Frank Reich's run scheme. Frank Reich's run scheme was a lot of under center stuff, especially with Jonathan Taylor, because Jonathan Taylor is more comfortable running under center. So they're doing a lot of single eye stuff, a lot of duo and zone block and zone rushes from there. Where this scheme is a lot of read option, a lot of motion, a lot of getting guys moving and some pulling going from the interior and stuff. And you could really see that, yes, I think with Jonathan Taylor, he probably manages to get to 40 yards rushing in this game with Deion Jackson's carries, but that's 3.8 yards a carry. It was going to be a bad rushing day regardless because this O-line is just not used to this running scheme right now. And they're going through a lot of growing pains with it. They were missing blocks. Jackson didn't help. He had just a horrendous football game, 2 fumbles on 12 touches or whatever it was, and a yard per carry. And he wasn't making guys miss whatsoever. So I'm not trying to absolve him from anything here. But this offensive line just wasn't like, it wasn't like they weren't moving guys either. It's just there was no cohesivity in the running game at all. They could not get the right hat on the right guy. They couldn't get the right guy out of the right hole. And as a result, Jackson was just running into a brick wall all day. And yes, he made it worse by fumbling. He made it much worse by fumbling twice. But yeah, I think the run game will be fine going forward. I didn't see anything that made me like cry about it or anything. But yeah, Jonathan Taylor would help. Jonathan Taylor would certainly help.
Yeah, and so Anthony Richardson did take, there's 4 sacks on the box score, but to me, that's kind of just a box score scouting thing. Some of those were him, running up in the pocket. Like and he holds on to the ball for a while too. He's, the rookies, they do that. Yep. So I didn't think the offensive line in pass pro was as bad as the 4 sacks looks. No. There's room for improvement for sure. And of course, he's still kind of scattered a little bit. I was fine with the pass protection. I think some people did have a problem with it, but in general, like, you've got to assume it's probably going to get a little better as everyone gets used to each other.
Yeah, and 2 of those sacks were for no gain or 1 yard. I mean, 2 of Josh Allen's sacks were at the
Richardson
line of
going up in the pocket or about to run, those things. Yeah.
There was 2 sacks in this game. Yes, technically there were 4 sacks, but 2 of Josh Allen's sacks were, one was a 0-yard gain, which might honestly get turned over in the scoring book afterwards. And the other one was a 1-yard loss on a coverage sack. Like, the O-line was not that bad. I didn't come away thinking that this was like a Matt Ryan-esque offensive line in front of him at all.
Yeah. So coming up here in a second, we're going to talk about a side of the ball that was actually a lot more fun to watch today, and that's the defense. But first, let's discuss fantasy. Hopefully you guys had a great fantasy spread today. But get ready for the rest of the NFL season with incredible offers from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets back guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. That's a really nice value because that's something that ain't cheap. Now is the best time to join FanDuel. The app is easy to use and you can bet on everything from spreads to player props and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season with an offer that you won't want to miss. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. And also shout out to our host for our home game preview, or our home pregame shows, Nevermore. Great turnout today. It was really nice. Good to see a lot of you guys in person there. Again, these will continue throughout the season before each home game. The link for getting your tickets, which is going to be at a new lower price now, go ahead and you can get that in the show notes, and I'll keep plugging that throughout the year as well. But at Nevermore, get lost in literality and experience a place filled with intricate design and immersive experiences. From upscale food and spirits to music and entertainment, Nevermore will never be a predictable destination for you. There's 25,000 square feet featuring multiple rooms. They have an elevated pub food menu as well as an old world style pub in the center of the space featuring classic handcrafted cocktails, draft beer, wine, and seltzers. There's also a secret passage to a hidden speakeasy bar, a rooftop terrace, which has an awesome view of the city, a game bar with classic billiards, duckpin, bowling, arcade games, and more. Visit Nevermore under the historic Union Station on South Meridian Street in Indy. Follow Nevermore Union Station on Instagram or nevermoreunionstation.com. Escape and explore the extraordinary at Nevermore. So, Zach, the defense was, the vibes were better. We got a big man touchdown. That was a fun play. But we gotta start with Trevor Lawrence, or what they did against Trevor Lawrence, particularly DeForest Buckner. I mean, we get these standout games from him at least a few times a year, but it's week 1 and he put an all-pro game out there. Several tackles, was living in the backfield, had the sack, which caused the first fumble, and then recovers the second fumble for a touchdown. The guy was everywhere. I thought the defensive line in general was pretty good.
Yeah, I did see a lot of comments from people saying there wasn't enough pressure from the defensive line. I do think for the first quarter and a half that could be true, especially on that first touchdown to Calvin Ridley. They just didn't get enough pressure because it was a busted stunt plus 2 chips on the outside. It was a really good protection call by the Jaguars, and the Colts just did not counter it at all. But
they did force him out of the pocket, though.
Yeah, I mean, that was mostly a coverage thing, but Yeah. I mean, he did have to move there. But I think after that first quarter and a half, they really settled down. Kwity Paye had quite a few good rushes in this one.
Yeah.
I think he's going to come away with this game from like 4 or 5 pressures overall, along with that sack that he had. DeForest Buckner, like you said, looked like an all-pro. And then if you look at the run defense, I mean, for the most part, outside of that one Travis Etienne touchdown at the end, the run defense was phenomenal. I mean, Grover Stewart was playing like Grover Stewart. Buckner had several tackles in the backfield. Samson Ebukam and Kwity Paye also had a couple run stops for a loss. So run defense was good overall. No real complaints there. Pass rush got better as the game went on. Linebackers played well. Young corners held their own. Like, I know it's going to say 31 points, but again, the Colts offense was anemic in the second half in terms of moving the ball. The Jaguars were constantly getting the ball at their own 40 or better in terms of field position. And this Colts defense really played well. Like, it's not going to say it in the box score, but they played against a superstar quarterback, and they held their own for a majority of that game. So I really don't have too many complaints about the Colts defense. I thought they were a huge catalyst in the Colts staying close in this game. But almost winning it late. I mean, they were up with 5 minutes left. To have a chance in this game, it really came down to the Colts defense playing super well.
Yeah, I mean, you said the 31 points. The Colts offense was 2 of 12 on third down, 1 of 5 on fourth down. I think 1 and 3 in the red zone. So, like, of course, like, it could have been a lot worse. So the offense wasn't as bad as it was last year, but the defense largely held up its end of the bargain. I mean, they forced Jacksonville to 3 of 12 on third down and 1 of 3 on fourth down. Several big stops from them. You mentioned the linebackers. Shaquille Leonard, you could tell after he got that first solo tackle, like, he was in it. Like, that guy was juiced the entire game. Like, it was really good to see him back. Made a couple nice plays, breaking up things in the backfield. Zaire Franklin had like 18 tackles. Like, their linebackers were flying around. EJ Speed blew up that one little screen pass. Like, these 3 linebackers, now that you've got all 3 of them going, I mean, it sucks that you don't have Bobby Okereke anymore, but they're in good hands with those 3 starting.
Yeah, no, it was a good game defensively overall. The linebackers played really well, like you said. And one thing I did want to transition to the corners real quick because I do see some comments, people saying Calvin Ridley was torching us and stuff. Like, look, at the end of the day, good offense beats good defense. And if you're watching a lot of these plays in this game, like, Colts schematically on defense, not bad. A lot of the Colts defensive players, not out of position, not doing anything wrong. It's just at the end of the day, you're playing against a superstar quarterback and a really good wide receiver in Calvin Ridley. And, I mean, Zay Jones and Evan Ingram both made some outstanding plays in this game. I mean, Zay Jones' touchdown is like a 1 in 100 chance of happening.
Yeah, that was absurd. Yeah.
It was an absurd touchdown catch. Phenomenal catch. Evan Ingram, super deep catch down the sideline over Darrell Baker Jr. too. Phenomenal catch. Like, at the end of the day, you live with those because there's not really much you can do there. Sure, you'd love to make a play on those balls. Sure, you'd love to somehow knock those away, but this is a good offense they played against. It's a good offense. It's a young defense too. They were flying around, like you said. They stifled them on third down and fourth down a lot in this game. They had the Jaguars second guessing themselves a lot on third and fourth down and just running some really crazy plays because they were just trying to do anything to get third and fourth down conversions on the Colts. So, yeah, sure, they allowed the 2 scores late in the game, but I think this was a really, really strong game from this Colts defense. And they look like they're picking up where they started last year, where they were to start last season, where they were really like keeping the Colts in a lot of games. They look like that kind of defense yet again this year. And despite not having Stephon Gilmore out there at that corner, they had Darrell Baker Jr. and Dallas Flowers. And I didn't see any like glaring mistakes from either of those guys. So Colts defense, I'm feeling pretty darn good about after this one. Yeah,
no, that group looks good enough for them to get wherever they want as long as the offense lives up to its end of the bargain. Like, again, last year the offense was so bad. So I don't really see that being the case this year. You got to think there's going to be some offensive improvement coming. Well, Zach, you got anything else for today?
No, one thing I did want to address with Shane Steichen when it came to the fourth down calls, it's again, it goes back to the Frank Reich thing. A lot of right decisions in going for it on fourth down, just some of the play calls, not perfect. I mean, look, the QB sneak play, perfect call. Like, it just didn't convert. The
That's
offensive
about
line
execution.
the O-line didn't get the push. Richardson didn't extend or go forward at all. I don't think he did any like QB sneaks last year at Florida, and it really showed on that play.
Jackson, I don't know that like Jackson really understood the assignment either.
Yeah, it was an ugly play, but like it's the right call. And the other fourth downs that they went for, I mean, look, those are 4th and 2s on the 42-yard line or whatever, or 43. Like, you go for those. And then the only one that I really would push back on is that toss play to Deion Jackson. I have no clue why they did that one, but I think everyone who watched the game could say that. I like a lot of the process, though, with what the Colts did in this game. They just looked like a really young team that is still trying to figure things out, which is fine. That's exactly what we expect. They're going to be a team that's going to struggle the first half of the season. We want to see them just pick it up the second half and look like the team that they can be. But there's going to be a lot of rookie mistakes. There's going to be a lot of young mistakes, and especially against a team like the Jaguars, where they're a playoff team. Like, they're a good playoff team with a really good quarterback and an energetic, high-flying defense. So I'm not really too upset about this game. The Colts came out and they played well for majority of this game. The offense can clean some things up. The defense can clean a little bit up, but for the most part, this is a good start to a season for a young team with a rookie quarterback, with a rookie head coach, and I'm excited to see where they go from here.
Yeah, a lot better than last year's week 1 against the same team. So I mean, we'll just see how it goes from here. I'm encouraged though. You know, I think it's only going to get a little better. They're going to have some. I don't even consider this game a clunker, but like they're going to have some worse performances than today, and it'll be fine. You just hope these young guys kind of build off of it and get a little bit better. But everydayers, remember to be back here with us throughout the week. You know, practice is going to get back. We got some injuries to monitor. We're going to hear from, Coach Steichen again tomorrow. Get some word from some of these players. So we'll be back with you. We'll let you know our further thoughts on this game after we watch it again with, more detailed eyes. So stay tuned to that. And if you don't already, follow at Locked On Colts, at Jake Arthur NFL, and at Zach Hicks 2 on Twitter. Also, subscribe to Locked On Colts on YouTube and wherever you listen to podcasts. We would also love your ratings and reviews because that helps us get up the charts. And with that, we will see you guys Tuesday morning.